Welcome to the Northern Business Podcast, a regular discussion with people in the north of England who lead businesses, employ people, and have new ideas to help our economy grow. The Northern Business Podcast is produced by Recognition PR and serves scores of companies of different sectors we work with across the country. Some contribute to this podcast occasionally. We're kindly sponsored by Virtue Motors, one of the top automotive retailers in the UK, with a network of dealerships representing some of the world's most popular brands. Now, I'm Graham Robb, and joining us today in the studio, we have Paul Wealls from Lenovo. Now, he's widely regarded as a real expert in tech and IT, and we're going to talk to him about some emerging trends later. And down the line, we've got Phil Cunliffe, who's from Insider Media, and he's based in the northwest of England, in Manchester. Hello, Phil.
Good afternoon, Graham.
Now,
good to see you.
Phil, let's start with you because I want to get into the nuts and bolts of AI and IT in a minute. But before we do, the economy. Where do you think the economy is? Because I run a small business in the north of England, and at the moment, I feel like 1990 all over again. That 15-month recession that had unemployment up there at 10% and higher interest rates, although interest rates are nowhere near that high, but it does feel like it's slow and stagnant and difficult.
Yeah, it's a difficult market. Obviously, we talk to businesses all the time. We run events and we interview people. We're testing the business temperature all the time. It's a challenging market for businesses at the moment. Obviously, they're talking about to us about business costs, things that are rising, sort of increasing costs. Recruitment issues are still to the fore. Skills shortages right across the board. Although I have to say, here in Manchester, it's a bit of an eco-climate in the sense that lots of people are moving into Manchester, and the economy is booming here. But I suspect that's not the case across the rest of the north so much.
I think that's right. There are hotspots, aren't there? I suppose Central Leeds is a hotspot to a certain extent.
Leeds and Central Newcastle too. I'm sure there are some positives to have around. Everything's SME funding, of course, is something that is being talked about a lot. But everything's leading towards the autumn budget, though, Graham. I'm sure that's on your as a business owner on your radar, and Paul as well. What it might contain, what impact this will have on businesses across the north. For example, there's talk about reforming business rates, increasing corporation tax, and of course, more potential hikes in national insurance. And potentially, on the other side, there's some potentially good news in terms of incentives on green initiatives and the adoption of new technologies, AI in particular. And I know you're going to talk to Paul about AI. So I think there are some positives, but there's caution to be had across the business community, I think.
Whenever I have a business meeting in the last few weeks, and here we are at mid-late October, so a month before the budget. Of course, it should be next week, of course, because it was the end of October last year. It's a 13-month year, of course. I don't think if I paid my tax on 13-month basis, it'd be very good. But whenever I have a business meeting, there seems to be a little game of business bingo. What do you think? And you go, who's going to say what? Is it going to be top rate taxes? Is it going to be dividend income is going to be taxed the same as income tax? Is it going to be higher taxes on higher value homes, pensions, and so on? There's business bingo going on here, and a lot of people contend that the business lobby has convinced the government not to change business taxes. But I contend that all tax is business tax. But if you want to tax the wealthy, then they're not going out there buying British-built Range Rovers. If you want to tax people who are going to have a family, they may not be buying their kids a brand new laptop. You know, it will, taking money out of the economy from whatever sector is transferring it from private consumption to public consumption. And there's no way around that.
Yes. I mean, the government's big mantra has been on growth, and it'll be interesting to see what measures they put in place to boost that growth. And businesses are crying out for clarity. And I think, Graham, that's the key to this. I mean, people want to know what the direction of travel is. 2 years ago, we had a budget where, a year ago, we had a budget whereby lots of things were in the mix, and they really, businesses were not certain what was going to happen, but they've ridden that wave, I think. So I think there's cautious optimism that whatever the government throws at businesses, they will be resilient and overcome them. We've heard talk of entrepreneurs saying they want to leave the country and everything, and I suspect some might do. But equally, I've been speaking to business advisors who have had conversations with business owners about this sort of thing. And really, well, they've had the conversation, none or very few are making that step. So I think, there's still a lot to go for here. And I think the government would be wise to listen to businesses and take on board what they say. So it's all to play for in November.
Well, I've been in business 38 years, and in those early days, 1988 to 92, those first 4 years in business, the second four of the two for the 4 years, the second 2 of the 4 years were in the 1990 recession. And I felt that it was very, very hard, but actually real entrepreneurs, people who really cared, stuck with it, nose to the grindstone, and those businesses were stronger as a result of the stress testing of being new businesses during a recession. And they lived by better disciplines. Also, I have to say that recession ended because of a major change in government policy. We left the ERM and interest rates fell. Whether we're getting a major change in government policy is another matter. Paul, what is your take on it? We're getting into your products in a minute, but what is your take on what Phil's just said?
I think there's obviously a bit of fear. We are going through quite a difficult time. But I think out of those, you get a lot of innovation, and we're seeing that. We're seeing a lot of businesses starting to adopt different ways of working, as you said, and being able to look at how they can adopt technology to really maximize and be very operational efficient. But out of those, that's creating new jobs. So, there is a fear about artificial intelligence and job replacement, and that's quite a sensible thing to consider. But there's also the opportunity of increasing production quality, like we met at the Make UK event, and adopting, first stages with computer vision and putting that in place. It creates the efficiencies of making sure that the products that are being produced on side with humans actually builds up better quality and gets the poor quality removed quickly.
Absolutely. And these productivity measures don't actually always create more jobs, but they always create safer jobs.
Yes, exactly.
And they create a more resilient economy. Now, let's look at the issues of more jobs, because Phil quite rightly highlighted geographical hotspots, but there are sector hotspots. Where I'm based on Teesside and in the northeast of England, which has now unfortunately returned to higher unemployment, your sector is a hotspot. If you can code, if you've got half a bit of intelligence on the IT field, you can definitely get a job. Is that too strong a phrase?
I think actually it's even evolved from that. I think, Jensen from NVIDIA has even said, those that can code want to be looking to be more solution thinkers rather than hard coders, because artificial intelligence can code for you.
Right.
It
even teach me to code.
You don't need to be able to. You just need to put in your problem statement, learn how to do prompts with artificial intelligence, talking about the solution that you're looking for and how that will be built, and then it can build the code for you to do it. So then, they're then really pushing forward with evolution, with the innovation side of technology. That it's more about critical thinking now, and being able to do that where much more creative thinking as well, which people find more enjoyable in jobs as well. So the whole landscape's changing, and it's quite an exciting time. And it's actually creating roles for people who, I've spoken to a few young people who have no coding background, but they've been learning from AI, using ChatGPT and the like, on how to build solutions with the problem statement they have and sort of dig deep in the conversation with it to then start to think about how you build it out. And they have a little bit of an idea of a website or an app which might be needed, and it can help them build that. Right. The next stage, and currently in the current field of it, is then how do you do the testing of it to make sure it's stable and so on and so forth. That's when you can lean on somebody who can code to then check the code and make sure it's of quality.
I think that's a really interesting take on it. And I've got to say that in my own professional life, my bank statement is full of subscriptions and newsletters and TV channels and YouTube and, you know, Paramount Plus or whatever. But the most used subscription is ChatGPT now.
Yeah.
Do you use it?
I'm in an industry that where we're little bit wary of AI and the use of ChatGPT because it's potentially a threat to a lot of jobs in the industry. But yeah, listen, it's a fact of life. AI now, and in certain industries, I know we see a lot of law firms actually, and they're using AI right to sort of cut and strip across lots of the sort of legwork that they have to do, and so it's obviously labour saving, and but as long as there's a human oversight to it all, I'm sure Paul will agree with that. Then it's got to be the future, and I don't think we should shy away from that.
Yeah, in fact, it's what I talk about in my book that I wrote.
Yes, but we must plug the book in a moment. I tell you what, Leon, here's a quick clip of some recent AI that's doing the rounds on YouTube and TikTok. You can see the quality of the pictures that AI is able to produce in a creative setting.
London, you feel that groove? I'm in the booth tonight. Here comes the drop. Let's ride.
That's Michael Jackson there doing his thing, or is it? No, it's AI Michael Jackson, and he's getting a following on his own. Now, you make and sell at Lenovo equipment, hardware. The type of equipment you need to make that kind of video, you need the access to the AI, but you also need the real quality box.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, for things like that, you've got loads of different choices on how you do that. And we don't just do the hardware, you know, we do everything from mobile. We do from pocket to cloud, which means mobile phone, Motorola brand, laptops, PCs, servers, edge servers, and then right into infrastructure in cloud infrastructure and data centers like the likes of OpenAI who do ChatGPT. It's about where you want to place the data for it to be the best and safest for. You know, there's a big drive of data sovereignty, which is really creating a bit of a growth spurt in the industry where, you know, manufacturers are wanting to have their data rather than the cloud with a big hyperscaler. They're actually having it in their own data center again. So then they've got full control of that data with it. With the likes of creating things like that video content, you can use things online with different GPTs, or you can take the open source code from that and host it yourself with a fairly high-end PC to run it on. There is also drives as this becomes much more efficient in computing that, you know, you'll see big marketing drives from the likes of Intel and AMD around AI on PC, where actually you can do specific use cases of things like that, where once you've got the model, it's quite easy to then just put the prompt in to then get it created. You could actually use your own laptop to be able to do it.
Now, Lenovo is the brand that people will see in the high street, and you just explained how it links different types of products and the cloud. How is it being adopted? How is your brand being adopted by business? How is it being used?
I mean, we're hugely prevalent across the board in regards to laptop use. You know, you'll see the ThinkPad brand, which was the IBM brand that we acquired a number of years ago, and we've retained that style, design, and build quality. So you'll see that. You've then got the server business, which again evolved from the IBM acquisition as well. And as I mentioned, we've got the hardware infrastructure in large data centers as well.
And you're positioned all over the world. It's not just
we are
a Far East company. Tell us about the global presence.
Yeah, we're a global company, as I mentioned, through an acquisition of IBM, part of IBM. We managed to get that global scale a number of years ago, about 25 years ago. We have our manufacturing in the US. We have manufacturing in Hungary for Europe, and we're also building a massive new factory in Riyadh in the Middle East as well.
Fantastic. Now, let's bring it down to the north of England. You've been very well known in the different elements of information technology in the north of England. You've decided to take your skills to Lenovo. How are you using them and relating it to the trifecta of, what does he say, business, government and education? How are you doing that?
The triple helix model. So my role as principal consultant at Lenovo is actually building business and technology frameworks for global system integrators for scale. So we take solutions of partners of ours. Some of those are small businesses like AI Innovators, the program we have, that have 80% of a solution with artificial intelligence, that then the system integrator can then go and implement and do the 20% for that business. And then obviously we provide the infrastructure that runs on. And so doing that globally. I've had a personal drive where I allocate a piece of my time every month where I work with the North East Combined Authority. I'm in visiting research at Newcastle University for the National Edge AI Hub, which is UKIRA funded. And so with all of that and being part of that ecosystem, attracting businesses to help them go on the journey of AI adoption, ensuring that actually we excel here in the north of England, not just the northeast, the northwest doing a phenomenal job. I work with companies like MediaStream AI who are just absolutely booming at the moment there. And with working with this ecosystem, we're actually helping elevate it. And that's what we're trying to do, is bring things together. We're a great broker of not just the technology, but the relationships as well, be it national, local, and international as well.
Phil, you have events that you're holding all around the north of England, and I went to one of them the other week in at Teesside Airport. It was packed, a very well executed event, and AI issues were raised. And it strikes me that AI is now the zeitgeist in business in the way that climate change and sustainability and DEI was 2 or 3 years ago.
I don't think any of those subjects have gone away, though, Graham. But yeah, of course, AI is very much on the lips of everybody. You can't ignore it. Yeah, we had some fantastic events, especially in the northeast. We've had 2 of our big events in the northeast, with the Northeast Economic Future events. So one in the northeast in Newcastle, and the other in, as you say, the one you came to at the Teesside International Airport. And we attracted a huge amount of interest for those. We had the combined authorities, both the 2 combined authorities, speaking that event, and AI was, of course, mentioned. Other things as well, though, certainly on clean energy, and I know you potentially wanted to talk about that. That's a big driver for the northeast. It's ideally placed to take advantage of those sort of new renewable industries, obviously offshore and on land as well. In terms of AI, we're building huge data centers, one in Blythe, of course, which is going to be massive for the region. And there's a lot of activity across in the Humber, of course, as well. So, there's huge amounts of opportunities on all those sort of fronts, Graham. So we'll be reporting on it daily. In terms of events, if I can just quickly plug, we have our International Trade Awards. It used to be just the Northwest, but we've now extended it across the North. So this is for exporters who are, the top exporters across the North. Also, if I could also give a plug to our Northeast Young Professionals Awards, which are coming up in early December. These are the rising stars of the financial, from PR, from all sorts of different disciplines. And of course, the other thing to mention, if I can, Graham, is we've expanded into Scotland now, just over the border. We're doing a lot of events in Glasgow and Edinburgh. We've launched our Scotland Dealmakers Awards and the Made in Scotland Awards, our manufacturing awards. So lots going up on over the border as well. But yeah, we'll keep on reporting.
It's worth following you and getting onto that newsletter every morning from you, because it really does provide really good insight. Now, you talked about sustainability and power, and we've been talking about AI, and power is where they both meet. I was in America in July visiting my daughter there, and she lives in Pennsylvania, and there's Donald Trump. He's in Pittsburgh, a steel area, and he's got, I think I might have got the names of the companies wrong. I'm sure one was Oracle, certainly SoftBank, and another provider might have been OpenAI. They're going to build a data center there, but the deal is they build nuclear power stations, SMR nuclear power stations first, and this drive for data centers, AI-based, AI providing data centers, is driving investment in power. And clean power at that. And the same is true in the northeast of England, at Teesside particularly. So the drive for power is critical. On American television last week, Jensen Huang, the chief executive of NVIDIA, was saying that the onshoring of chip making from the Far East to America and the provision of data centers was absolutely determined on American power as an energy, and the way Trump's going for that. Do you see the two linked in this way, Paul?
In the current format and requirements of it, yes, because the GPUs are very power hungry, It's one of the reasons why not only as Phil mentioned with the fantastic investment from QTS Blackstone and Blythe, which is an absolutely massive data center and a huge coup for the region. But then you've also got the recent announcement with the AI Growth Zone, which the catalyst of that was the Cobalt deal with the Nscale that are coming to the region with OpenAI, which is going to be an inferencing data center, which is a smaller one. The reason why they've done that is because of the renewable energy that we've got coming in off the North Sea, but also the subsea fiber cable we've got coming in from across from Holland as well. So we've got the data connectivity come through, which is another big requirement, as well as the infrastructure side.
And it does put the east of England in a very big advantage, because transmitting power from wind turbines in the North Sea down to the southeast and southwest of England is expensive on a grid, isn't it?
It is.
So you lose it where you've got it.
There is, but there's some really interesting, yet again, problems create innovation, right? So there's really interesting, innovative ways of creating energy. There's a data center that's been planned in Scotland that's going to use buoys to generate the energy to power that.
Power up
Exactly. You know, there's a friend of mine that I went to school with that had a subsea one with underwater turbine that ran from the currents and stuff. So there are other alternatives to creating massive nuclear power stations and so on and so forth as well, right? But there is the power need. But the thing in my personal view is I have a diagram that I've recently put together of sort of like a pyramid showing that you've got the hyperscalers at the top. But what I show is through the design of it is that the job creation from going from hyperscale data center, data farm, closer to the point, some call that far edge. And then you've got edge computing. So that's little servers, smaller servers, actually in factories and stuff close to the point of the data. So then you distribute it out, that the power requirement sort of distributes as well. So depending on the type of compute, depends on the power requirement.
The server isn't dead, is it? It's by no means dead. And the security issue, we saw AWS, Amazon Web Services having this problem this week. And, you know, if you're running a small business, you sometimes don't want it all on the cloud.
Resilience, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the positive drives with data sovereignty as well, of that distribution of what data you have in the likes of the hyperscales. And there's definitely a need and use for that. But then when there's other data that you've currently got held there, which actually you could be hosting it yourself, that your OPEX, CAPEX side of things changes, that you're actually owning that infrastructure. And therefore then, and we actually do a system called payment system called TrueScale that helps you break it through to CAPEX, that you own those servers yourselves and you host them yourselves, and we'll help manage them with partners for it. So then you've got that sort of distribution so that you're not completely wiped out when something goes down with a partner like that.
Yes, it's just, my own business does that, exactly right. And it's also because sometimes you want the data in your own premises. Look, Phil, it's been great talking to you today. Insider Media people, do subscribe. You can get the newsletter free, can't you, in your inbox every morning? I've got that right?
Yep, you can. Yep, free to subscribe, insidermedia.com. I encourage everyone. And it's set up nationally, but also regionally. So,
so you can get the stuff that is relevant to you. Now, Paul, this book you've got is a great book. I've seen it. You speak about it regularly at different events. And by the way, if you want someone who knows his stuff on this kind of thing, invite Paul to speak. What's the book called?
It's called The Human Loop.
The Human Loop. And I'm sure you can get it on Amazon.
You can. It's available on Amazon. It's also available on iBooks. You can get hard copy or soft. The book came from frustration of working from telemetry, machine to machine, IoT, through to edge computing, through into automation with an autonomy with AI, about actually we need to build out the ecosystems. And that's where opportunity of job creation comes from, is by building these ecosystems so we can cross the chasm. But it's also talking about responsible AI and about having that human in the loop, hence the title, The Human Loop. And making sure that we keep control of things rather than just, letting things go out into the ether and putting ourselves at risk.
Well, I'm grateful you've both come on. Great guests today on the Northern Business Podcast. If you want to join us, do get in touch via LinkedIn is the easiest thing. Graham Robb and Recognition PR. In the meantime, thank you to my producer, that's Alex Dryden, and my technical operator today, Robin Campbell. Thank you very much.